Hello, my name is Carlos Erban, and today I'm going to talk to you about how I did this picture. And one of the things, let me see. So this is a sunset that I just took about an hour ago, and it's not HDR, and it's actually very easy to do. As you can see, my settings were f22, ISO 100, 1/5 of a second. And I was at 62 millimeters on a 24 to 70 2.8 lens. Now you're probably asking yourself, well, why did I shoot at f22 62 millimeters? Well, the 62 millimeters has more to do with composition. I really wanted the focus point to be the sun and what the sun was doing to the rest of the picture. f22 was because I really thought that I could, with the sun sometimes, you can get like a stardust, or starburst, sorry, but that didn't happen. So actually, probably would have been better to shoot it at f16. The other advantage is because at f16 you do have a sharper image than at f22. The other thing that clearly helps here is my depth of field. Okay, so I did want to get a lot of detail, because what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to emphasize not only the sunset but how the sun rays are hitting all of this area with that beautiful sunset. So let's talk a little bit about how I took this picture. Well, first of all, so this is kind of, again, that I do some Lightroom and I also do some tutorials, so this is kind of, again, doing a little bit of both. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is no, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, this is the original picture. So you're probably thinking, why did I choose this picture? The reason why I chose this picture is because this is one of the intents of this video is to show you the dynamic range of your camera, especially if you have a D800. But to be honest, even if you have a D7000 or a D600 or even a D300, the dynamic range is also very good. So a lot of people think, oh well, if I have a sunset like that I need to do it HDR, and you really don't. So the first thing that I do is, okay, what do I want this picture to communicate? I could have left it like that. I mean, there is a lot of sunset pictures that basically have everything dark and you have the sun coming out. But for me, that was not the intent. So first, I always start most of my pictures with cropping. So this part of the building was kind of bothering me, so I cropped it a little bit. The other thing that I do when I'm doing my editing in Lightroom is I like to try this Adobe, the camera calibration presets. So I start with landscape, and I don't know, I just made it darker, and that's really not what I'm looking for. Vivid even made it more darker, so I went back to the way it was. The next thing I do is I play a little bit with my white balance. So I try daylight, then I went to cloudy. I'm starting to like cloudy, and you'll see later on that I do go back to daylight, but anyway. Then I start playing with the contrast. Now I want to start, so this is one of the great things about Lightroom, okay? So you can, before you start playing with the exposure, I recommend that you always start playing with these levers first, okay? Look how much the shadows did, just by going to 50. Look how much that opened the shadows. Then the next thing I wanted to do is play a little bit with the whites, okay? By the way, when you see the Alt key and click it, then you can see your white point, and you can see that this is not complete. You can still see a little bit of detail, and that's, again, I'm trying to take it to the maximum dynamic range. So I'm going, and you can see I probably went too much on the shadows. So now I go back, and I'm leaving this in so that you can see how it affects the whole image. Then I start playing with the highlights, again, a little bit too dark, trying to make it a little a little wider. Then the contrast. Now the good thing is the clarity. So after I finished with these 4 levers, Then I go, you know, kind of like in order. I go to the clarity. Now the clarity is kind of a cousin of the detail and also of the contrast. So you can see I'm opening a little bit more of the shadows, and it's doing something that I really like. Let me turn this off. It's adding more detail to these rooftops, which I really like. Okay, so then I play a little bit with the vibrance. Again, I usually don't use too much the vibrance, but since, you know, this is a sunset, you know. Then, okay, so I'm thinking to myself, okay, I think I've taken this as much as I could without, you know, doing something really special here. So keep in mind that you have in Lightroom this graduated filter. Now, most of the people, when they think of graduated filter, they think it's for the sky, but I'm happy with the sky. I'm still not very happy here with the bottom. So you can add a filter, right? And what I did with the filter, okay, if you look at my filter here, basically what I did is I increased the exposure a little bit, okay, maybe a little too much, okay. So, oh, what happened with my, oh, because I okay, when I do that, then all of a sudden it goes back to that's not a good thing. Okay, that's okay, because basically now I have to redo it again. Let me see, Control Delete. Oh, there you go. Okay, so what happened is when I start doing that, all of a sudden it erased all the other stuff that I had done, which I didn't want to do because I don't want to spend, you know, a long time doing this. I just want to show you what I did real quick. So I was in the graduated filter. I you know, played a little bit with the exposure. Then I started playing with the temperature. Okay, so I'm trying to get more, you know, more of the effect of the light here, opening up more the shadows, clarity. Now I'm doing all of this with this graduated filter. You see how it's only affecting the bottom? See, look at this. This is only affecting the bottom of the picture. Okay. The other thing I noticed is there was something, you know, I did not do the profile, the lens, so I did that, and I noticed that it was a little bit crooked, so I made sure that it was straight. This conversion to black and white was by accident. I was really trying to click on the white balance, so I clicked. See, I went back to daylight. I was not, I thought it was like too orangey, but again, white balance is so subjective. Then I wanted to get a little bit more of the blue, but as you can see, there is almost no blue here, so that wasn't doing anything. Just trying to play a little bit with the oranges, making it a little darker. Then I realized, you know, like the whole picture looks a little dark now. So maybe instead of going back and changing it, maybe I can, you know, open up the exposure a little bit and see where that takes me. Then I played a little bit more with the contrast, and I was using the tone curve. By the way, you don't need to use the tone curve. Okay, now I'm going to show you a little trick. When you're here in the tone curve, okay, you can do this. So basically what you do is you pull this one up and you pull it down, and then you can save it as a preset, okay, and you call it spots. What it does is that if there are any spots here in the sky, you're gonna see, you see, so here there is one that I missed, okay. So that's, it makes it easier to remove the spots. By the way, the new you know, the new Lightroom, the Lightroom 5 has this already built in, so you'll be able to do that. Okay, so I removed the spots. What I noticed when I was doing that, by the way, is I noticed that, you know, there was like a lot of noise here. So I decided, you know what, maybe I overdid it with the clarity, so I'm going to pull down the clarity a little bit. Then I started playing with the sharpening to make sure that I didn't overdo it. Then I realized, well, nobody's really looking at the picture one-to-one, so I went back to my clarity the way I had it. Then, you know, I kind of vignetted a little bit because this building here is kind of bothering me a little bit. Let's see, what else? Then I said, you know what, now it's starting to look a little bit too dark. And this is the thing when you're processing your picture. Sometimes you're undecided on what to do, especially in a picture like that, because my intent here is, I want a picture that is different. I don't want the same picture that everybody does, right? And I'm also trying to do kind of like an HDR kind of effect without doing HDR. Okay, so now comes the cool part. What I did is I added a brush, okay, and with that brush what I decided to do is starting to paint, and I painted, I'll show you, see first. So this is the way it was. So what I want is to show now like that light hitting all of these areas here. So I started to paint, and when I painted, what I basically did is I had a higher exposure and also the white balance. Okay, so you can see that, oh, here it is. Okay, so I changed the exposure and then the white balance. Remember I told you this was bothering me for some reason, so I went back to playing around with the aspect ratio, you know, going back and forth. I added my brush again and basically painted here because I realized, wait a minute, you know, this sun is hitting here first and foremost, so I want to make sure that it emphasizes that. Okay. Oh, then I said, you know what, why don't we just paint all the rooftops? I mean, the rooftops are an important part of the picture, so let's do that. We might as well, right? It's hitting those rooftops, so let's do that too. Went back, I'm trying to get it's too orange for my taste, so I'm trying to get a little bit of the blues, but it really didn't do much. And then I exported to my hard drive as JPEG, right? So, you know. So anyway, so this is the final picture, and as you can see, if we go back to the original picture, sorry, that's not the original picture. This is the original picture, right? So the original picture, right, and the finished picture. So I hope you like it. Again, it's not difficult. This is actually very easy to do. It's just a matter of, you know, getting your exposure, the settings, and then having a little fun with Lightroom. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I'm not gonna say this is one of the greatest pictures I've taken. The reason why I did this video is because I really wanted to show you that you really don't need to do HDR all the time, that you can get a dynamic range, and then with a little bit of Lightroom retouches you can get that, you know, the advantages of HDR without having a picture that looks HDR, okay? Because HDR adds noise and does a whole lot of other things that sometimes we want to avoid. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this video and you watch some of my other tutorials. Again, this was taken with a D800, but it would have worked just as well with a D7000 or a 600 or 300 or any of those cameras. Okay, well, thank you very much, and I hope this was useful for you.